Started from the bottom, kept on climbing, perfect timing, looking down from the top. I don't see no opposition from my position. I'm focused. It's a must, I complete the mission. I won't stop, I can't stop. The grind is all I know. I'm focused, I can't stop. The hustle's all I know. I'm hungry, ambitious. My heart is on go. You in the presence of greatness. That's all you need to know.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another Identity Jedi Show podcast. We skipped last week. You want to know why I skipped last week? Because I didn't have anything to talk about. That's why we skipped last week. And it's our podcast. We can do what we want. But we are back this week. We got a lot of things in the pipeline coming. There's a bunch of interviews coming. We got some sponsorships coming. But this week is a very special week because I got some friends coming onto the podcast. And we're just going to have a nice casual conversation. We're just going to talk identity. We're going to talk some things that we've seen. I've got Jen Cox, Aubrey Turner, identity nerds who have turned friends. And this is the beautiful thing about identity is you meet people, then you become friends. We've now known each other. Aubrey and I have known each other probably going on 10 years. I can't remember when I met Jen. We're going to talk about that. I think it's been about like 6 or 7 years now since I met Jen. And I'm probably wrong. So then she'll probably tell you guys what the actual number is. I don't remember when it was, but it's just like, it's one of those things that there's like life before Jen and then like life after Jen. It just, that's how it happened. And so that's how I remember it. So to me, it's just like Jen's always been there. So we're going to have a conversation about what life has been like in identity with some of the funnest things we've seen, all that good stuff. So you want to stick around and get to all that hang around. We want to hear from you. After you hear this conversation, let us know. What are some of the funnest things that you've done in identity? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to? Send in your questions, identityjedi@gmail.com. We look at all the emails, I promise you. Don't forget to check out our website, theidentityjedi.com, because there you've got the newsletter drops every other Wednesday. You've got blogs dropping on Monday. Premium subscribers, you know what you guys get and on your cadence. And of course, don't forget to check out Twitch. We are streaming all kinds of things coming on Twitch. We got college football in there. We got some Call of Duty going on there. Let's see. Did I get all the promos? I think those are all the promos. So that's it. Okay. Jen, Aubrey, what's up?
What's up?
How are you guys doing?
Well, I'm sleepless in Atlanta, and not for the reasons in the movie, but because I've got a newborn at home, as you guys both know. Yeah. So that's the big news on my end, but just taking care of business.
Awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have anything quite that exciting. I have a baby house, we'll call it that. So lots of house projects, although it's a 35-year-old baby. It's new to me. So definitely keeping me busy.
Yes, at least yours isn't like, pooping around the clock.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
What's the first project on the list, Jen? Like, what's the first thing you're doing?
Well, the first big project is a kitchen renovation. So that's going to be the first big thing. The most immediate thing that I really need to do is a little bit of roof work, skylight that's messed up, and a couple of other things. So there's no shortage. I probably need to prioritize the list better than I have. But.
Yeah. So Jen, did you intentionally buy a fixer-upper because you wanted to shape it in your vision, or is that kind of the deal?
Yeah. I like to channel my inner Joanna Gaines. I don't know. I felt like I needed some project that I could see progress on every day, or at least when I chose to do something with it. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun. It'll be the kind of one of the first things I do I get to be the only person that makes the decisions on, which is a pretty fun thing too.
Yeah. I was just on a call with somebody from Savient, and he was showing me how he was using Chat GPT to reimagine his own kitchen. It's like he fed it a photo of what it looked like, and then just asked it things like, what colors would you recommend? How would you redesign the space? I forgot the exact prompts he used. And then it brought me back to the fact that a couple of years ago, when we bought the house and moved into the house that we're in now, we've since redone 2 bathrooms and done a few other things. And we hired a interior designer who my wife was never really satisfied with. And I'm just like, we got to save a bunch of money and just ask ChatGPT to do it. So I don't know if that's the way that you're going. But it was just cool to see how, another novel use of something that's recently come into our consciousness here, and just kind of blown up. Excuse me.
Yeah,
so.
it's definitely in my toolkit.
Yeah.
I will say I don't know that I'm any more pleased with it than your wife is with the interior designer, but but at least I'm not paying for it. We'll go with that.
Yeah. So all the best. I've remodeled a couple of kitchens, and it's takeout, and maybe you got like a cooktop or something, so it can be a little challenge working around that, and getting it right, and it can take some time, obviously, to get things straight.
So what I hear you saying, Aubrey, is that you're available to come out and help. I mean, because you've got all this. Did you hear that, Jen? Because that's what I heard.
I heard that. That's
so the question now is, do you want it done right?
Yes.
I'm handy, but I don't know if I'm that handy. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to look at some color swatches or whatever it is, Jen, if you need a second set of eyes to maybe help you with some choices. But outside of that, I better stick to this identity thing. Although,
oh man.
Anyway,
all right. So we'll do some quick intros for those of you who are listening or watching that don't know these two wonderful people here, because you haven't yet had the pleasure of meeting them. So we'll start with Jen. So Jen, just give the people a quick background of who you are, so they can start to realize what we all know is how wonderful you are and why they need to know who you are.
Well, that's a pretty tall order, but but I will talk a little bit about my background. I had a very varied career prior to entering identity, but I did finally make it there, make it here. And my whole professional background, I started, the funny thing is I actually started, I always like to say I walked the walk for a long time before I talked the talk of identity, because I started as an operational support person inside Active Directory and an IGA solution and a PAM solution, building entitlements and, handling help desk tickets and trying to make sure that everyone had the access they needed, but more from like a help desk perspective, and did that for a year or so until I kind of migrated into this thing we call consulting, advising around identity. So that took me a few years as well with an SI, and I've meandered all through things since then. I feel like David, I was thinking, when did we first meet? And I think we first met when I was a consultant, but I think that you were also surrounded by about 82 other people. And Jennifer was not the name that you remembered out of that group. But it was probably a good 5 or 6 years ago. And then obviously we worked together for a number of years since then. So a lot of vendors and helping sellers and helping customers and just talking the talk now, after, like I said, I walked the walk for a while. So
awesome. All right. Yeah. You're up, Aubrey.
Yeah. And Jen, I'm trying to think how long we've known each other, and it might be 10 years as well, probably.
Yeah, I think it is.
Right. We were working on some projects together, I think, as you were walking a walk, so to speak. So I think I'm in decade 2, potentially decade 3 of my career journey in cyber and identity. And just like Jen and many of us, I have meandered through a number of different things, from privacy to data security, all kinds of other even on the network security side and the vulnerability management side of security, but identity just kept pulling me back in, so to speak. And so, from being a practitioner to leading teams, selling product and services, here, it's landed me with these two fine folks. And yeah, it just continues to, again, I'm a naturally curious person, and identity continues to, just when I think I've seen everything, something pops up and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're still doing that, or what are you thinking? So yeah, that's what keeps me interested. And I really, again, the people, right, who I work with, as well as, who you end up helping on their identity journey, their cybersecurity journey, that kind of keeps me motivated. But yeah, it's been a great run, and I fell into the space somewhat by accident. I'm an econ major by education, started in banking, got into consulting. That got me into cyber identity and all the other things that I've mentioned. But it's great to be a part of this journey.
I keep forgetting you were an econ major.
Yeah, dude. I thought I wanted to be a banker. I probably got an old three-piece suit to prove it as well.
That explains a lot.
I so thought I was going to be a Wall Street banker, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't for me. I quickly realized. So.
Wolf of Wall Street, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway.
Oh man. Okay, so let's start with the biggest thing that surprised you in your career, like from you go to work with a customer, or either you're advising or selling, right? And then they tell you something and you're just like, holy crap, how are you still in business? You clearly don't have to name the customer.
Oh, really? Yeah. Jen, do you want to go?
Aubrey, you start. You kick this one off.
Look, I'm always there. It always surprises me, right, when I run into a customer that doesn't have a single sign-on product. Like I just, it's 2025, and we're still, occasionally you'll talk to a customer and they haven't gone down that path, and it just, when somebody tells you that, you try to have a poker face, because you're just like, how are you still in business? Or even things like 2FA, MFA, like these very kind of table stakes, blocking and tackling type stuff. And especially in my previous role in a couple of other spots that I was at before I joined Savient, again, you just hear these things and you literally are like stunned. And in some cases, you're just like, you're just wondering how you've gotten to this point to where you haven't invested in something as in 2025 or even since 2020 as basic as single sign-on and MFA. But again, you may want to chuckle inside, and ultimately though, the part of you as an advisor or whatever, well, let's try to figure out how we get you to solve these problems, because there's absolutely no reason why generally speaking, no reason why you shouldn't be using these capabilities. So those are probably a couple of things I think off the top of my head that kind of stand out as like, are you for real? So Jen?
Some of the things, I think one of the things that I ran into more than once, and I think we run into all the time, is how organizations can survive without good information about the people that they have. Like, it shocked me the lousy data that still exists in whether that's in like HR systems or more frequently in like an Active Directory somewhere, that you're like, how do you not maintain the stuff that's here in such a way that you can make good decisions about it, or that it can, you know, guide what's happening within your entire ecosystem? I can think of examples like people who get one thing. I remember this all the time, and it's an example that I bring up because I remember working with a healthcare organization one time who was talking about their HR data not being reliable, and particularly for people who weren't employed by the health, like people who just came in as contractors or anything like that. And one of the challenges that they were describing to me was the fact that they might onboard someone from a vendor to do some work. And at one time they onboarded this person and put their title into the HR system, because that's where they put them in to send them through their program, put their title in as the CRO, just CRO, right? Which we know can mean a couple of things. And the result of them being put in as the CRO meant that they got all the permissions that the chief risk officer at the healthcare organization had. And I thought, this is, I mean, these are the challenges you try to solve for folks, right? Like, these are the things, these are the problems that we're trying to prevent from happening. But the fact that that stuff still happens, and that I don't think there's a lot of focus on it at a lot of organizations. So that was probably one of the most surprising things to me.
Yeah, I think contextually, I'm kind of reminded kind of this question, kind of what still shocks you. Somebody just pointed out to me that AOL is finally shutting down their dial-up service. Like, who knew that was still an option for getting on the internet, right? They're finally shutting it down. And it's, I mean, some of these things, some of these poor hygiene or bad habits,
really?
It's like when somebody says, hey, yeah, can you fax that to me? You're like, what? Like, what is happening? So, you know, we can, and again, we're obviously not sharing any customer names. You know who you are. But again, I come back to, hey, if that's, you know, if this is the situation, right, and these are the problems and challenges, that's what we're here to help figure out, how to bring folks, you know, closer to sort of more modern customs and practices. But yeah, like, it's these things take a while to change and evolve. You know, I forgot when AOL first started, but it's been 30, 40 years, something like that, probably. You know, so these things take time, and you just have to kind of acknowledge that or have that understanding, I think.
You still have an AOL account, don't you, Aubrey?
I do. Yeah. No. Could you imagine though? Oh my God.
It's so surprising. It's so surprising that you imagine that you move on from some of this stuff. Like, I think, especially being in the industry for 10 years, 20 years, right? You think, well, we can't be struggling with the same thing now that we were 10 years ago. Or organizations can't possibly be having the same problem. But I mean, there are all kinds. And I guess we shouldn't make those assumptions just because we've seen it 100 times.
Right.
I feel like there's we should probably like give this like a name. I'll call it like the interstellar effect. But like, it's almost like the bigger an organization gets, like, time slows down, right? So, you know, you go into these organizations, and so to your point, Jen, it's like, you know, on the outside world, it's like, oh, there's no way we're still doing that. So you go into this organization, you're like, why are you operating like it's 2005? Like, what are you doing, right? Because like the bigger an organization gets, like, the least likely they are to change. And so they insulate themselves. And so they just, they stick to their processes. And so they don't take on any of this stuff. And so it does become, very interesting and hard for them, to adjust. I think it was interesting. Earlier this year at the AWS Summit in New York, Thomson Reuters, was on stage, and, they've been around for over a century. Right. And the guy was just talking about like this massive undertaking they took, in introducing AI and all the stuff that they did. And like, you want to talk about like moving a ship, right? And he was just, it was a massive, massive effort to get this organization to start to adopt these things. I mean, they still have systems that have been up for 60 and 70 years, right? I mean, there's just, these things are built on technology that you just can't, you can't, oh, well, MFA it, doesn't work. Well, what's the API? Didn't exist. Like, so it's, sometimes I understand it. Like, it's just, it's mind boggling to look at that. And like organizations like that, I get it. Some organizations is just, it's a reminder of how far away technology is from the business. Right. And how much, as much as we're in this every day, I tell people like, it's still magic to most of the world. Right. And that they just don't care. They just, I turn it on, I click a button, things happen. Right. I don't care how it happens. Just make it happen. So.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you're reminding me of things that I just bought this house that was built in the 80s, and some things are just frozen in time from that point. And there are things that you maybe take for granted, that I'm going to move into a house and I'm going to have some way to plug something in the garage, or I'm going to have, just silly things that you think these things have to be available because I'm so used to it. I mean, they've been available forever. And nope, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a potentially a larger theme here of, unintended consequences and things like that, are the right incentives in place. Right. So again, my mind from an economic perspective of, there's limited resources. So how you apply them, right. And what incentives you create. And in some of these cases, the right incentives, and maybe, there's some unintended consequence of remaining on these older legacy platforms. And our job is to, dig deeper and figure those things out, and figure out if it's sensible and the right approach, and how to modernize these environments, these clients, customers that, again, may, for any number of reasons, may have these antiquated ways, so to speak. It may be working for them, for that matter, and that may be fine. So, but yeah, always surprising. There's really never a dull moment, and I not only myself has said this before. Sometimes as we're talking to customers, and they're sharing, and different customers, some can be somewhat evasive. Some are just like open the kimono and just say whatever. Sometimes you feel like a therapist, right? Because some are really like, I want us to change, right? But I've got all these headwinds and pressures, and I'm not able to get sort of the right coalition of the willing or whatever, right, to kind of move in my direction. And I've talked to so many customers in meetings, and then maybe over dinner, and to hear some of the frustration it's palpable. And I literally kind of at some point you're like, you try to help as much as possible, but there are a lot of folks out there trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And for any number of reasons, they are not able to move the needle, get things done. And if, you have to empathize. And like I said, I've literally felt like a therapist. Like, it's like, hey, come into the identity lounge. relax. You're all friends here.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah, Jed, exactly. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Let's chop it up and talk to Mr. Identity. Let's tell me everything.
I hope you don't say that, Aubrey.
David knows why I said that. It was on the previous podcast. Anyway,
so Jen, what's been the funnest part of identity, or like the coolest moment you've had since you've been in identity?
I have to pick just one.
Or you could rattle off.
No. Well, so here's the thing that kind of, it always strikes me. So I tried to leave identity twice after I got here. So I took a little detour, did did a little work at a case management startup. And then I did another detour at DDI and a different kind of PAM company for a while. And it's like identity just kind of pulls you back in. And it's, Aubrey, you were saying the same thing, right? You just kind of keep coming back to this. And I think that my favorite part has always been, I thought about how the community is such a great community, the practitioners, this group, all the people that we, go to the conferences and it's a reunion and you can't make it 10 feet down the aisle because you run into somebody that you haven't seen since the last one. And that piece of it has kind of been the best part. And that's not a best moment, but that's one of the best parts. And I've thought about why that is. Like, why is it that is such a, and I'm certainly not the only person that thinks that or says that or feels that. And it kind of takes me back to my favorite part of being in identity, which is that I am always learning something new. And I didn't get a degree in identity security or cyber, any of those things, right? Like you were an econ major, Aubrey. I was a math major. Like I did forensic science. I did some like pretty unrelated things. But what's interesting about the reason I think the community is so close is because we all kind of grew up learning it together and we continue to do that. Yeah. And I think that's probably that's just my favorite part. And from that, I've kind of learned it's okay to not be the expert because generally there's a lot you don't know. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. I'll pile on to that by saying I've met some of my closest and dearest friends in being in this field. I mean, it's already a pretty tight-knit community and smaller space, even relative to cyber and then relative to identity and technology. So met some of my closest and dearest friends, which is awesome. For that matter, met my life partner, mother of my kids, wife in the space. So that's kind of cool. I think one of the things that keeps me coming back is I do love the client engagement. I do enjoy hearing client problems and challenges. And I'd say more so, I've seen the kind of the results of some of the labor in terms of some of you deploy something or you work with a customer to come up with a solution, it gets deployed. And I won't mention any names here, but like any client names, but it's cool to see something that you did, particularly on the SIAM side, a vision come to actual, fruition in your hand. Like you see, and you have an experience that's frictionless or easy, or you feel better that your data, your information, your currency is better, is more secure because of something that you did. And that's one of the cool things that I've experienced. Of like literally some of the customers I worked with when I worked at Ping, some of the things that we worked on, like you see that, you feel that in your hand, right? You can do something and you're like, oh, wow, like I actually did something there, right? I had something to do with that. Not, again, like, you know, a part of a spoke in a wheel, so to speak, or a cog in a wheel, right? Like it wasn't just me. Like I'm not saying that. And the Oscar goes too. No, like I wasn't saying that. So please don't take me wrong. All I'm saying is like playing a role and then realizing something that gets delivered is really, 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 really cool. And I'd say some of those experiences. And then I have one quick story about how a fish that I had for dinner turned into a story about how eating a whole fish is like how you should run your identity program. And years ago, you all know Robert Block, right?
Oh boy.
You know Bobby Block. We're on a strategy workshop for a customer in Florida. We go out to dinner, the in-between night. I order the whole fish. I eat it, and I just like at the end, I just have like the skeleton on the plate. And he's like, "Wow, I think I can use that tomorrow in our session." And that guy figured out a way to take. He took a picture of the whole fish he happened to have, and then he took a picture of the skeleton. He was like, "Well, this is how you actually carve up and build and navigate a IAM program without basically getting like eating a bone and getting like having to try to swallow a bone." And so he made that analogy, and it was just it has always stood out to me how that random thing I had for dinner turned into an example for a customer and we were advising them about how to build a strategy and a roadmap and an action plan. And he took that and turned it into like a story about how consuming this whole fish while avoiding the sharp bits is how you should navigate building your identity program. So, I mean, countless kind of stories like that. Again, Jen, to your point, it just keeps you coming back, right? It just kind of keeps you coming back. So, but yeah, those are some things I think that have kind of just great experiences that I've had. So
now we got to get Block on the podcast and tell that story.
You should have. Oh, he's got another story, and this one's probably. And David, in the lead up to this, you messaged me with funny stories from the field. I'm like, dude, like most of these are not suitable for work.
And I told you this would not work.
A lot of these are not suitable for work, but there's another funny story you can probably have Block tell you. I don't know if he should tell you, but or how he would tell you, but somebody that we work with, I don't want to say was coerced or unwittingly coerced into buying shots of Louis XIII for some customers, and then realized that they're like a couple $100 for a pour, and then had to call Block in advance of submitting the expense report to be like, "Hey man, I inadvertently purchased a few rounds of Louis XIII for some customers." And like, I've got this hell of an expense report. So it's a funny story. Again, these are just some things that happen in the journey, and you kind of roll with it. But again, it keeps us, tightly knit and close, and we figure things out. So that's another pretty good Bobby Block story if you haven't heard it. So I wouldn't have him tell it on a podcast though. Have him preview it for you, and then you decide if you want him to tell you on the podcast.
It's all content to me, man. I mean, we can get Roars on here, and we all got a bunch of Roar stories we could tell.
Oh, those are probably some of the ones that are probably, even not suitable for the podcast.
Yeah, definitely not safe for work.
Okay. So we'll wrap with this. What's the one thing looking at the industry right now that you're most excited about? It could be anything.
I mean, it has to be making things easier with AI, and better. I mean, all the tedium that I think, and whether that's in operationally within an identity program or just fixing your problems, to me, that's the most exciting thing. And that's the thing that's the game-changing piece. Not any big surprise, for sure.
In your perspective, Jen, do you see a world where like most of the stuff that we do in identity security is truly autonomous and handed off to AI, like certifications, assign and access? Like, do you see that there's just an AI agent that does all of that?
I mean, I don't know that the auditors are ready for that. So, so no, because we still have to secure the AI. So, I mean, it doesn't. Certainly, it's not fully handed off, but I think that there's massive opportunity to all these organizations that we just talked about that are antiquated and stuck. I think that it provides an incredible opportunity to get them up to snuff quicker, like get them where they need to be in a much quicker, more reliable way.
Cool.
Yeah, that's got to be the most exciting thing, right? It's got to be number one. There seems to be a lot of hype around decentralized identity, year or two, maybe a little bit ago. I'm curious, does AI reinvigorate some of the excitement around decentralized identity? And like a lot of things, right? They just take time to mature and to become more, widespread. I'm kind of reminded of who is it that has the hype cycle, right? Something. It's Gartner. Yeah, it's Gartner. It goes through that cycle, right? I don't know exactly where decentralized identity is, or if there's AI, how AI is represented on that life cycle, but it is the most exciting and promising piece of technology for all the reasons Jen said, right? I do though. If anything, the auditors certainly are going to have their say, and by all accounts, they should, right? They very well should raise their hand. And yeah, I mean, so I guess, David,
we have a dissenting opinion.
Huh?
So yeah. I can see we have a dissenting opinion.
Yeah. It's not only exciting, David, I guess it's also somewhat, I don't know, scary is maybe not the right word. It's the only one I can think of right now, but like, what are the ramifications of some of these things? And mistakes will be made. Bad things are inevitably going to happen. And it's just a question of, how do we contain that? How big is the blast radius, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, AI is the most exciting and sort of, again, scary thing in identity, I think, of all time, really. I don't know in the 20 years that I've been in the space if there's anything that's been more that fits that bill more so than AI and what it means, what it doesn't mean. So yeah. I'm curious how it will impact, my kids, right? Like, what's their future look like? And not just from AI, from an identity perspective, but just overall, right? So it's, yeah, put that under your pillow and sleep on it, or whatever.
Oh, it's on Aubrey's mind.
All right. Well, Mr. Buzzkill, way to kind of
come on. Come on.
On that note, okay. Listen, cool. I think little different aspect, right? I look at all of it. I think all of that is going to take us to a complete different aspect of how we look at security altogether. I just want it to happen fast enough that something happens to where I can get a payout so I don't have to do this shit anymore. That's it. That's all. I mean, so that's all I really care about. So
tell us what you really think.
please, always do.
Oh my gosh.
That's the you know.
Aubrey, I don't care about your kids, Jen. I don't care if you get your house.
They're not my kids. Like,
I just want to cash out.
That's it.
I
got a media empire to build, man. Like that's all. Just listen, media empire from my island. I'm good. That's it. Doesn't take a lot.
Yep.
Doesn't take a lot. I already get the number sitting right there on my wall. Look at it every day. Oh no, this was fun.
Yeah,
this was fun. Thanks. I know it was super last minute. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Anytime.
Jen, we will make the live event happen. I am going next week in Austin to go check out the venue. So that first steps are happening. So we're going to go check that out. So for the listeners and watchers, we are planning a live event in Austin. We're shooting for October-ish, probably like mid to late October. We will let you know the details as soon as we get those finalized. It's going to be fun. It's going to be about leadership. It's going to be a good time. More details coming soon. We just spoiled one of the special guests. You've seen her today. You're going to see her in person in Austin. We got some more special guests that I'm not going to spoil. You're going to hear about them later on. But once we get everything finalized, we'll get that on there. So thanks, guys, for your time. This has been awesome. I think I want to make this a recurring theme. So we'll try and do this. Try and do this again. Yep. Get a couple more people. We'll just come in, have some chats, hang out. I got some Uncle Nearest back here. Maybe I'll, well, then we'll tell the real stories.
Yeah. Should I show up buzzed next time, David?
It's going to be like a drunk Shakespeare experience.
That would be like drunk identity tales. I'm telling you,
there we go. Enough of those.
That would be kind of awesome. That would be kind of awesome. Premium users only. You got to pay for those because might get some of us fired. Anyway, listen, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, we appreciate you. Make sure to hit the like button. If you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you for listening. If you're watching on Spotify, we really love you because last year we were in the top 10 of video content on Spotify. We want to be there again. So make sure to like, rate, subscribe, whatever platform you listen to this on, because it all goes a long way. Because as Aubrey likes to think, I'm not a billionaire, but we do have a team and we love it and it keeps us going. So we appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. You guys know what it is. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Love each other. We will see you guys on the next show. We're out. As soon as I find the button. I don't know where it's at. Yep. Okay. All this will be cut out. Doesn't really matter. Who cares?
Your team will cut that all out.
Exactly. Fix it in post.
Yeah.
I won't stop, I can't stop, the grind is all I know. I'm focused, I can't stop, the hustle's all I know. I'm hungry, ambitious, my heart is on go. You in the presence of greatness, that's all you need to know.